When you get exposed to more things, you get to realize that what you think you know is just limited. I was working on projects alright, but I never see the day of light. I can only live once, and let me just spend the time doing what I love most. Have the optimism that you can build a product here in Ghana or Africa and it works. But there was this part of me that asked myself, if it works, why don't I see the startup ecosystem booming and all that? My life has nothing to do with semesters or terms or whatsoever. So how much knowledge can I acquire in a given period of time? The institutions that we build to help with education, I mean, they are a little rigid. They are not flexible for everyone. If you really want to just use just your credentials, it's going to be very limiting. I have only one life, and if I leave this place, my consciousness will never find its way back here.
It is inspiring, as I always say, to see young people fighting for things that they really love and trying to find purpose even in chaos. Etonam is a young builder with so much passion in computer programming. I got to know him in third year when he built an AI system called Prep AI for students to upload slides and get help with examinations. And there were so many comments and so many testimonies that this system was really being helpful throughout the exams.
I am Benjamin Etonam. I'm also a computer engineering student here at KNUST. I love to build projects. Among any other thing, projects are the things that make me happy. I started learning how to program around 15. I got introduced to programming by my mathematics teacher. He just introduced it to me. He told me almost everything my phone can do, anything my computer can do, is being programmed by someone. And before then, I didn't know that. I thought they just manufactured them some way, somehow, and they work. I never really thought about it that way. So that led me through the path of me trying to teach myself how to program, because it was so interesting. Building basic projects and seeing it work was fun. Coming to university, I realized programming is the foundation of the tech industry. If you check the market cap, it's a lot of money there. So I was like, okay, then maybe I can also build something that will make me money, right? So I started working on projects. But the problem there at that time was the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. So I was working on projects alright, but I never see the day of light. I do it, I understand what I did. I know how it is. Technically, it's very challenging, but it didn't solve any problem. It was just, I'm doing it for the doing sake. Second year, I came across Y-Combinator, and they started talking about build what people want, build something that solves the problem, or build what people want. So I came with a group of my friends. We came together to build an AI that could take documents and extract the content, convert it into an Excel sheet on whatsoever. We couldn't find a customer for that, and we had to pivot. We pivoted to building an inventory management software. We had few customers, but the retention was very poor. Before Preps AI, I've been working on projects, and I have a lot of dead projects that will never see the day of light. But I think I'm happy I did all those things, because it gave me the opportunity to learn some few things that I wouldn't be able to learn if I just one-shot it. When you get exposed to more things, you get to realize that what you think you know is just limited. And before programming and all that, I was very big on art, painting, drawing. I was almost like a star when it comes to that back in my school. I was so good at it. But when I actually saw programming, it changed my perspective about art. I realized art is not just holding a brush and painting, or holding pencil, drawing and all that, but it was more of creating something that doesn't exist. Already I had interest in arts. I loved math and all that, so pivoting to programming was just natural for me.
One thing I admire more about Etonam is the fact that he's been able to realize his purpose, his passion at a very young age, and started fighting for it.
We have only one life. I can only live once, and let me just spend the time doing what I love most. Connect with people from different perspectives, and then they expose you to their ideas, and from there you start picking on. Back in SHS, I have a friend, he's called Desmond. This guy is so good at programming. At that time, my programming skills were very simple, but this guy could build websites, animate them, moving, and it was so nice. So I was like, there are two ways I could go about it. I could go worry him all the time, teach me how to program and all that. But there's another way. I could just go and watch him program and ask him very important questions. So I took the other one, just go watch him program and just ask the very important questions. And that's how I learned what he knew. I'm sure he knows much more than me, but I have learned something from him that I have applied to me myself. And I talk to him, I discuss with him, and then get more insight to things that I don't know. At that time, I thought all the knowledge I had was good about programming. But as the year goes, I was like, no, I don't know this. And then I go deep that rabbit hole to find out what that is. So I try to challenge myself. Most of the time, I have a main project and I have a side project. I can work on a side project within a weekend, forget about it. And Prep AI was one of those side projects. I wanted to prepare for exams, but had a lot of social issues around me at that time that I needed some kind of focus. I needed to learn faster. And throughout the semester, I was busy myself working on projects. Doing AI stuff, I was reading research papers, just trying to learn more. But exams is coming and I can't afford to trail. I use ChatGPT or those tools to study, and I already know how to piece together all these things. I can fine tune my own model and all that. So I'm like, okay, then let me just upload my documents, let it generate the question. It should look like an exams, a mock, and then let me just tick it. So every slide I have, I'll put all it inside and then just go through and try and answer. And then the ones I get wrong, I'll just go and reinforce my understanding there and then go and write the exam. So it was working. I even built that in less than a day or something. It was very simple. The technology behind it, everything there was very simple and minimal. My course rep came around and I was like, hey, what are you building? I showed him and he was like, this is cool. Can you deploy it so that I also use this for my side? I feel like I'll need it. So I spent the next, I think, 24 hours. It was broken. I was building it for myself, so it was very broken. Things can just stop and I don't care. I'll just restart it and all that. So I tried to fix some of those error. I did some error handling and all that. And it worked. So I dockerized everything and I pushed it too. And I deployed it. I just shared the link with my course rep and he shared it into my class group. And it just from there it just started spreading like a virus, something like that. I had a belief, have the optimism that you can build a product here in Ghana or Africa and it works. But there was this part of me that asked myself, if it works, why don't I see the startup ecosystem booming and all that? So I thought maybe there was something fundamental about our culture that was preventing things to move. I convinced myself that that was the reason why we don't adopt technology and all that. So when Prep AI worked, I was like, no, there's got to be something else that is the problem, right? So it just showed me that it works. It works when you solve the right problems. Even though it's tedious and it's still fun for me in one way or the other.
And that's one thing about doing something that you have passion for, something that you love and something that you really want to do. Even when you are tired, even when you get off, you still have the passion to do it, not because of the income or the result, but simply because you love what you do.
Usually you build things and they are not very original. They are pieces of different ideas from different places you've had over a period of time that you put together into one system and it becomes something new. Sometimes there's this component that you feel like is the core of your project and that component is not working, and that's what bugs me a lot. My project depends on this thing and that thing refuses to work. It's very annoying. My life has nothing to do with semesters or terms or whatsoever. So how much knowledge can I acquire in a given period of time? A lot of research papers that I see out there and read are not even published. They are just preview papers that have been released on archive and then I just go and read them. But the knowledge in them is just so good. So last year I read one book on language modeling from O'Reilly. I didn't even read everything. I only read the tokenizer part, the transformer part, because at that time I really wanted to understand what the transformer was. And the transformer is just one of the major changes that has happened in the AI field and has changed everything. The time it was even released, that was 2017. And as of 2017, I had no idea the world was changing. You have something like ChatGPT today, nothing like that. I was just when I realized that this piece of knowledge is so monumental in the field of AI, I was like, I have got to read it. I've got to understand it. So I got that book. I read the tokenizer part. I read the transformer part, and it gave me a general understanding of what a transformer is. I have a lot of friends who are PhD students and master students and all that. Sometimes I just find time and I go to them and I try to know what they are doing. Usually when I go to them, they open up my mind to new things.
We just can't underestimate the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people, the right environment when building something. Because at the end of the day, you need help. And when it gets off to the extent that you feel like giving up, you need the right people to hold you up and not to mock you.
I had an experience just last year, getting close to November. I don't know what was happening to me though, but I just didn't understand what I was doing. And that was a little depressing for me. Kept me thinking every time, is this going to work? I'm trying to question a lot of things. It happens rarely, but there are sometimes it just happens that way. And I think it's fine. Sometimes you just have to take some time off and do other things. I just want to build something that is useful. And if possible, make money out of it. And if that's what will make me the next Jeff Bezos or the next Elon Musk, that's fine. I'm very optimistic about my future because I can't be pessimistic. I just can't afford to be. When you have resource constraints, it makes you think in a different way. Sometimes it can be limiting, sometimes it can be gold mine. An example of a company today that is existing is Apple. Apple started very simple. They didn't have all the resources on earth to build a computer, but they did anyways. Imagine if they had all the resources to build a computer, they would like to build the biggest computer ever, but they built a simple one that was just a board that worked. And that kind of teaches you that sometimes it's not even about resource, it's just about the execution part of it. And sometimes resource can actually bottleneck you. So an example is something like OpenAI. Before you can build a very good AI model, you need to do a lot of optimization, or you have to focus more on compute, a GPU that is training your model and all that. More like an advantage and disadvantage altogether. But if you find a way to maneuver around this resource constraints, it's possible. The institutions that we build to help with education, I mean, they are a little rigid. They are not flexible for everyone. And that part is what I would say I would like to solve. The fact that everyone has to do the same thing throughout, and you are judged with that same criteria. So if you don't follow that, it means you are out of the game. And I am like a living testimony or something like that. I don't want to go out of school and have the same knowledge as all my colleagues that graduated with me just because we learn the same thing. I want to have much more, sometimes even tangent to what we are actually doing. I feel like it's important in any education system. There should be the level of flexibility. AI can help with that. But the sad part of the AI story is the fact that there's hallucination. And before we can get there, we need to do a lot of research to get there. So maybe that part of it that I'm very interested in is making it more flexible for people who can't work with a very rigid system, still be able to succeed in it. And that is very important. Someone who wants to be a musician, I don't think I have any interest in music or becoming a musician. But someone like that, when you put him in our normal education system and you want him to just follow all these things, if he doesn't do other things aside of all these things, we'll find it very hard. Or we'll be able to succeed, but very later in life, because before he will actually get himself exposed, he's very late in life. And it's fine, some people want it late in life, but some people want it faster. And if you look at people who are able to do that, there are people who are a little contrarian, they go tangent. They are in class and they run away from class, they are in the studio singing. They just love to be with what they love more than whatsoever. So I feel like having some flexibility in there can help, because some of us, we can't follow the rigid kind of like structure.
And I think it's important to pay attention to this, because formal education is good, but I know some people who are very much talented, very much gifted, but some way, somehow, the system kind of make them feel like they are worthless, except for some people who really knew what they wanted and fought for it.
A lot of the companies we deal with here in Ghana are very mature or something. They are already established. But the people who actually make changes to the industry are not those companies. Majority of them are not those companies. OpenAI didn't start as a big company. Apple didn't start as a big company. People who actually affect change, they start something like a Kofi's shoe store. But it starts like Kofi's shoe store, and in 3 to 5 years, it becomes something as big as a whole corporation that is everywhere. My theory is that if you really want to just use just your credentials, it's going to be very limiting. But then we have the people who come and start from the ground up and build a whole new industry. Let's look at Tesla. Tesla came out and built a whole industry on electric vehicles, and they had to reinvent a lot of things. And I'm sure to tell you that if you go and look into all the technologies that they have reinvented, you can set a whole course and you like teach that all those new technologies are real. So it is not only be like kind of knowledge you have in school, but the ability to solve the problem. And I don't think that will be defined by what you have on your certificate or anything. More of a personal problem than of a credential problem. I'm not against people who want credential or whatsoever. It's good. There are some people that is what they love to do, and go for it. That's what you like and you love. Go for it. Be excellent. If you love something else, maybe like me, what I want is to build things that's kind of useful and all that. I want to be excellent in that aspect, and I try to get all the things that are needed for me to be excellent in that aspect. So once you're exploring, you get to a point where you realize you start narrowing down to a particular point. It's more like a Gaussian noise. Starts very sparse and then it goes to a point where it's very concentrated. When I started learning how to program, I first wanted to do websites, and then I went to mobile app, and I went to desktop app. I came back to website development, and then later I went to backend and all that. I have knowledge in all of them now, but I didn't know what exactly. I just knew that I wanted to do something. It's not like I know like I'm going. I don't really know. Let me just bring some calculus in it. If you calculate the gradients, where am I pointing towards? Which direction am I going? Can I go more in that direction? Like that kind of thing. My parents have never really complained about if I'm doing very good or bad in tracks. And maybe I am lucky. I think the first time I've ever failed in class was primary 4. I had, I think, 11 and 12 or something, and even 9 out of 100. And when I came home, me that I used to get like 70 and all that, and I just dropped. What's going on? My dad just was like, it's fine. Next time, just try and do better. I didn't have any pressure, no beating, nothing. And as time goes on, I just started thinking for myself because there was no pressure for me to focus more on academic. Maybe that's what even made me think about so many other things rather than just focusing on one structured system. Maybe that is it. I don't know, but I have never really had the pressure. And even before Press AI, anytime I go home and I spend most of my time when I'm home with my dad. We are working together and I'm telling him about my ideas and my vision for what I want to build and all that. And my dad would listen in, ask me questions and all that, just to dig in and see how strong my ideas are. And we'll say everything. And when we close and we are going home, my dad will tell me, I know this is what you want, but please, you go to school, please learn for me so that you don't come behind. And I get it. Every parent wants their child to be successful. That's how it is. Last year, when Press AI became like a thing, my dad was surprised because all the things I was telling him, he experienced a little bit of it and he was like, oh, maybe you are right. If you know you will not fail in life doing anything, what would you do? I feel like that is what moves me now. I have only one life, and if I leave this place, my consciousness will never find its way back here. That's it.
I hope you enjoyed this session. My name is Eugene Vavan, and this is VOV.